What is blue sky?
Just you can ignore that.
Okay.
All right, good. All right, with apologies for the technical difficulties, at 6:38 p.m., we'll call to order the special meeting of the Reading Board of Education. The first item of business is board vacancy interview of candidates. And just as a little bit of background, now I'm hearing myself. The first item of business is board vacancy interview of. We are running a special meeting and a regular meeting back to back tonight to comply with FOI and our bylaws while doing our best to limit the overall length of the evening for everybody involved. I want to first start by thanking the candidates and my colleagues for the flexibility with respect to starting at 6:30 instead of 7 tonight. I've advised the board and the candidates that we'll begin this evening by inviting each candidate to provide up to 2 minutes of opening remarks regarding their background and interest in serving on the Board of Education. We'll then work around the table with each board member asking a question that each candidate will have 2 minutes within which to reply. Once the question is complete, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to conclude with any additional information they'd like the board to consider. Once the interview process is complete, we'll adjourn the special meeting and begin our regular meeting, which will include action on the vacancy. So at this time, I would invite all 4 of the candidates who expressed interest to come on up to the table. Can't win. So why don't we start briefly, just if you state your name and introduce yourself to the board, and then we'll start with introduction starting on my left to right.
John Kenyon.
Lauren Nelson.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. Amanda, go ahead.
For having me, my name is Amanda Coordinary. I've been a resident of Reading for a little over 1 year. I am a mother of 3 kiddos, 2 of whom are RES students in 1st grade, and the youngest is 3 years old. Professionally speaking, I am a nurse practitioner. I have been for the past 10 years. I have an undergraduate degree from UConn, and a graduate degree from Yale. And professionally, I work part-time in private practice, as well as I am the founder of a career consulting company for nursing professionals. That is my primary focus professionally. When we moved to Reading, I was really looking forward to getting involved, particularly on the education side of things. After moving, I thought that the Board of Education would be a place for me to use my talents and my skill set. I have a particular interest in public health with my background as a medical provider, and I think that the Board of Education, as we've seen, in the past couple of years, has shown a light on opportunities for public health voices to be involved in decision making. So I think that I was a unique viewpoint there. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Amanda. John?
Hey, my name is John Shanahan. We moved to Reading November of 2020. Our plan to move to Brooklyn were aborted by COVID, and it's good because my wife is a real city gal. But Connecticut was always top of the list because we want the best for. We have 3 children now, about to have a 4th. And being very familiar with the Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania education system, we knew that we were looking for something a little bit better, and we're very lucky to land at Reading. I'm sure we crossed paths in a tiny town here. As soon as we moved, I got very involved in scouting. It was very critical for me after becoming an Eagle Scout to be involved and to make a really great environment for learning outside of the classroom. It was huge for me growing up. And then, coming out of college, just for professional background, I spent a few years at Apple leading sales training and management there. And then I left that to do software sales for Fortune 100 retailers, particularly across Europe, the UK, and parts of the US. And then I left that to start 2 different companies, one in the men's style and fashion space. The other is a startup who do men's skincare and cosmetics. We're nationally distributed in Target, Nordstrom, and we raised some venture capital there. And being on the Board of Ed is a big way for me to not just stay in all of the Facebook groups shouting at the walls, but to get involved, make changes, make some decisions to shape the education that my children receive.
Thank you, John. Megan?
My name is Megan Bendich. I have lived in Reading since 2016. I have a daughter who's actually at Barlow, and a son here, one young lady. I professionally I have worked in the hospitality industry for 20 years. 5 years ago, I decided to take what I know and get into school. So I now run food services for dairy and public schools. It's part of the reason why I'm interested in this. I think I've always had a passion for what our kids are learning and that involves their nutrition, but also, the idea that I can take something that I know and bring it to school is really important to me. And then being in school now, I just have a lot of knowledge of the ins and outs. So the Board of Ed was perfect. It fit in terms of what I was interested in. It's something I just finished my term as the president of the board for the National Charity Week, the Reading area chapter. And the timing of this is actually great because being on 2 boards at once can be tough, but I think it's important to make sure that I'm hearing with my all. So the timing of that just ended, and then this sort of popped up with the meeting. So I think that's it. I'm looking forward to having the shot.
Thank you, Megan. Laura?
Laura Nelson, kind of different from the Curlin story. I actually grew up here in Reading and spent my entire life in Chicago here. I attended Reading Elementary and John myself, and I really realized that this community is so important in, for our children and just growing up here, being an adolescent and going through the school system. I realized how important that was. So this opportunity has, presented itself. And again, looking back to my memories of my childhood and having these amazing experiences going through the school system and just realizing how it shaped me as an individual. And again, it was because of board members such as yourselves, parents at that time in the 80s, they gave their time and their dedication to their busy lives, and they had kids themselves. And for me, it was such a, positive experience socially and academically, and especially for my large family and all my siblings that went through the school system. So, for me, looking at you all as a board, I understand the commitments and, the passion that you all bring. And I think that's what makes our schools and our kids so successful today. And when this opportunity came about, I really felt strongly that it was my time to give back to the community. And, be present like the board members did for me as a child, do the same for my kids too, and all other kids in this community, and really help them grow and develop academically and socially. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Laura. So the first question is going to come from Stephanie Olton, and we'll start with John and then move around.
You want me to read it? Because I forgot what it was.
Would you like?
Yeah. Thank you. I had it up on the screen. What is a school board member's role and responsibility, and how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
I think it's important that each of the board members brings unique backgrounds into the room, but also focused on what's being taught in the schools and how the school can best function to make sure it's delivering that right environment for each of the students. The superintendent is really responsible for making sure everything's happening on a day-to-day basis, but the board is really for what the vision of the school and how can those things be facilitated and really delivering tools to the superintendent and all the faculty within the schools. And so making sure there's a high level of thought into execution, but is delivered in a good way so that everybody has the right tools to provide that resource.
Thank you. Megan?
I think a board member's role would be to show up, to learn everything that we possibly can in terms of the particular discussion at hand. I think it's important for us to bring our own set of beliefs to the table, but I also think it's really important for us to listen to each other and have a positive and constructive discussion surrounding that. I think after that, then it's our job to work with the superintendent to bring resources to the table for him or her. I think that the superintendent will have great resources with a board that, especially a tri-board, right? Because we all represent every aspect of our town. And I think that working together is really the most important part.
Thank you. Laura?
So I think, having two kids in the school systems now, one of my sons attends Reading and the other is here at John Middle School. And I think being the eyes and ears of the school community and the children and, what goes on, behind these type of meetings to really be the ears, the eyes for the superintendent, to stay connected with the kids, to listen to, what is happening, in the classrooms, inside and out, and really just being that support system for the superintendent. But yeah, the most important too is having that open mind and just really being able to listen to people and not come with any type of preconceived notions, but again, just to support the superintendent and really be on that ground level with those kids.
Thank you, Amanda.
I see a board member's role as advocating for the students in our community, coming together, working collaboratively for kind of a joint overall mission. I am a big fan of constructive and collaborative conversation. I think ideally, a board, in the best case scenario is a nonpartisan working group. And I think that the board is, here to advocate for students and also to support the superintendent and administration in executing the bigger vision that we all see for our students.
Thank you.
Thank you all. The next question will come from John Belfato.
My question is similar to Stephanie, not really. But what do you think are the two top priority events?
We'll start with Meg.
Two top priorities. I think that listening to our students when we're at home and in terms of our children, hearing what their day is and the way they are absorbing what they're learning. I came from, before I was in Reading, I came from the Norwalk school system, which is clearly very different in size, first and foremost, from Reading. So one of the things that I was really excited for here was that it was a smaller school district, and my son will be in class, and in terms of the curriculum, he's learning, it's one school, they're all learning the same thing, and for me, I can hear all those messages. And now if I were to meet a board member, I would be able to bring that to the table and understand the clear message of what they're receiving. And hopefully it's the intended message. Secondly, I would say that, I'll say it again, I said it before, I think it's important to do the work. I think it's really important to show up. For me as a board member for the NCL, the hardest part is when we're not all there to do our role and we can't get anything done. So for me, if you're willing to show up and if you're willing to come with an open mind and discuss the topic with your fellow board members, I think that we can meet great needs.
Thank you, Laura.
I think that we, as a board member, one of the most important things is really staying true to why most of us parents either moved here or decided to stay here, and that was, our academic curriculum. I mean, people have moved across country to become part of the Reading School District for, the reputation that it perceives, and really just keeping that reputation, consistent and keep it going with all of the standardized testing. And, people, a lot of this community, could have moved elsewhere to, spend less on their taxes, but they really want to be here because of our school. So being a board member and really upholding that true value, why parents have moved here and decided to put, their children through the school system. The second one is just, again, being an advocate for our kids and being able to, create a safe to speak up environment. No matter what your beliefs are, is the second, most important thing as a board member, and being able to be that outlet for the community to come to say, despite what you may think or feel, just being that board member that's approachable, whether it's on email or concert on the green, you want people to feel comfortable to come to you and not worry about any sort of, background that that person may have. So again, being open to the community.
Thank you, Amanda.
I see the board as having two main priorities. One falls into casting the vision for what we want for our students in our school system. So under that umbrella, academics, curriculum, concordance, social emotional learning, et cetera. And then on the other end, on the more logistical end, which I think is a very high priority of the board, is coming together to workshop and propose a budget. I witnessed the good work that you all did earlier in the year by watching the budget workshop and the different proposals. And I think that while it's not as kind of attractive as the ideas, it's definitely a really high priority in terms of being able to actually execute what the board has decided is the vision for the school. So I would say, you know, ideas, casting a vision, and then also working together to have that budget.
Thank you, John.
I think bringing the table into two parts is really focused on academic excellence and performance, and then also around the community. So making sure that all the teachers and staff are equipped to deliver the lesson plans, deliver anything they need on that side of things. Then also the community, you know, there is a lot of noise on, especially in the past couple of years, on what the Board of Education focused on, but coming as board members, say these are the things that drive the district forward, and they drive these, you know, key academic performance forward, but then also the community is big. So I mean, listening is definitely huge, and making sure we're hearing what you said in the community, but then how you distill that down to make sure that you're getting the right things in front of not just the board, but then also the superintendent and institution as well.
Thank you, John. We'll next go to Mike Hoffman.
Appointment to the Board of Education is potentially a big commitment of your time. Attendance of the regular meetings is the baseline. But not all the work of the board is done at the regular meetings. There are special meetings, committee meetings, joint meetings, contract negotiations, pre-reading, preparation for all of the above, and more. How much of your time are you willing to give in service to the town of Reading? I have to remind you too, the pay is not good.
Yeah, the inverse is how much time do you want left? That's so, Laura.
Yeah, so, you know, looking at this position and realizing, you know, it's not an easy seat to fill. I think, you know, for me, you know, having a full-time career, you know, I kind of balanced out, okay, how much time can I allow for this, because it is such a commitment, and I think it's more of what you put in, and it's not just showing up at every meeting and, you know, stating an opinion, but I think, you know, I looked about, you know, serving on other committees as well is so important, because I know that's just the aspect of the job. So, you know, whether it's 10 hours a week, you know, I think it's something that's so vital and important that I think it's my time, like I said in my opening statement, that it's my time to give back. So I'm willing to give the time that it takes, and being where my kids are in their age level, I'm able to do that. So, you know, I think, again, it's doing the pre-reading before coming to the meetings, being prepared. So again, there's a lot to do it beforehand, but you come to those meetings to be able to make a really good, you know, effective decision. So whether it's 10 hours, 12 hours, you know, I'm willing to commit.
Thank you. Amanda?
Sure. I don't take this commitment lightly. It's not something that I just decided on a whim. It's something I've been considering over time since moving here, and just been waiting for the opportunity to raise my hand for it. I work part-time for myself, so I have a flexible schedule that is all by design, so that I can have that extra time to spend on my volunteer commitments, spend on my parenting duties, and this is something that I have time for. I'm also not the person to not fully commit to a commitment. So if I say that I'm going to do something, I will be there for 30. So I'm excited about the opportunity, and whatever time commitment is required.
Thank you, John.
Having a first-hand look at the parking schedule, and I've been downside fully grasp the gravity of the commitment on here. I basically set up the companies to be very flexible on time, so time and scheduling has not been an issue for any extra commitments, and I've also put in a bit of time for the Cub Scouts, and so for me, it's like an extension of my parental duties. It's like, you know, I'm gonna help my children with their homework and do things outside of school, but then also to have a voice in the direction of the district is really important as well. And so the amount of time or where the scheduling comes from is more concerned.
Thank you, Megan.
So having sat on the board for the National Charity League, I'm very well aware of the time that it takes. Being the president, I was all consumed. My husband and I had a joke when I would be at the dining room table on my computer at, whatever time in the evening, he would look at me and say, is this the work that you get paid for? Or is this the work you volunteered for? So very, very aware of the time commitment, and my answer to him would always be, I care about the goal, so what does it matter? Because it's true. It's, for me, if it's important, I'm ready to be here for it.
Thank you. Right. I will ask the next question, which is that this is a job on a school board for a small town with a small district where everybody more or less knows everybody. And as a member of this board, you cannot go into the Mark Twain Library or Caroluzzi's probably without getting cornered about something, particularly in budget season. There will be times where you make decisions that not everybody that you're friends with agrees with. How do you expect to handle those situations where you go against maybe people that you're close to? And we'll start with Amanda.
So I think that disagreement is healthy and constructive. I think that part of the responsibility on the board is to be an active listener, and I think that you can listen to someone's concerns and really take them to heart, still make decisions, maybe not in what that person wanted, and still get along and still be a part of kind of the bigger mission and still be in agreement. My personal style is I'm kind of a natural mediator, so I like to bring different conversations and different opinions to the table. I'm good at seeing other points of view, and I think that's really helpful to be able to have those discussions and say, hey, we may not really agree on this issue, but here's the thought that went in behind it, and regardless of our disagreement, your opinion is still valuable. So that's how I tend to approach those things.
Thank you, Amanda. John?
For me, when I registered to vote at 18, I registered independent as a way to get away from my parents, who was very conservative on my father's side and very liberal on my mother's side. And so I'm used to the disagreement at a deeply personal level. At the same time, I make my living on internet, so I get thousands and thousands of negative comments a day, which I'm used to that there. So a big thing what we learned at Apple was specifically around the why for things. So like, why is this decision that was made? Explaining the background for those. And so, yeah, I know that Chris gets swarmed when Bree goes out, and I'm sure everybody has their experience with that. But for me, it's something about maybe it's a character flaw, but if I have personal conviction in something, I have no problem explaining why that was the decision that I made or why it was the right thing.
Thank you, John. Megan?
The fact that I've been in the food industry for 20 years, I've learned very quickly that we will never please everyone. I can think that something's fantastic and someone else will hate it. But that being said, I'm also here to listen to their thoughts and share why I came with my thoughts. I would also encourage them to take a seat at the board if they are that opinionated. But I will say that in terms of someone disagreeing, I think that there's value in hearing other points of view. I don't think it means that you can't be friends with someone because they don't believe exactly what you believe, be it politically, parenting beliefs, whatever it is. So I do think that listening and perhaps adjusting if the opportunity arises, if we feel like there's value in it, is always there, but otherwise just listening and explaining our stance from where we came.
Thank you. Laura?
Yeah, so, the reason why we're all here is because we have valued interest in our kids' lives. I think that over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of, debate, and if I were to run into Caroluzzi's and meet somebody that were to disagree, I mean, really, we're here for our children, so I would be the role model for my child, and I would want to have them act the way I act, so I'm going to teach my child not to shun on somebody that has a different opinion than me, and to listen respectfully, because that's why we really are all here, is for our kids. So disagreements in different agenda items, or if somebody doesn't like the budget and they approach me, I would never, treat anybody disrespectfully, because again, the way we act is the way our children act. And if we could be respectful to everybody, it would be a much better place to face it. So for me, listening with that open mind, no matter who you are or what your belief is. That's why I'm so successful in my professional career. And I would take that here to the board event and do the same as I would want my kids to be able to teach them.
Thank you. Next, we're gonna go to Shirag.
I know everyone has a different background experience, so what in your background, education, experience, wise, do you think would be especially useful for the board event?
Starts with John, I think. Okay.
Well, this isn't my first run in elected politics. I was the design and technology coordinator for student government college. For 2 years. With an intense election process. So, no, I mean, the biggest thing for me has really just been around, sourcing community listening. So, a big thing of what I do now is really developing communities online and working with a lot of people in order to bring together and move something forward. And so whether I do that virtually or in schools is huge. So I don't have specific board of ed background or something like that. But what I've done, just building companies and working through my professional career, I've definitely had the experience to bring that workplace.
Thank you, John. Megan?
Years ago, I looked at my resume and I thought, how did I end up here? That's really hard to find. And since then, I've looked at it again and thought, wow, I can now see where each place took me to the next dot, on the timeline. So whether it's hospitality, where I'm working with all sorts of people, whether it's food and nutrition, which I am also interested in schools, whether it's the fact that I work in schools and I see these things, I work with kids and I work with the administration every day. And then also the fact that I've been on a board and president of the board. I think now where I am, I can see all the pieces and I'm really excited to take that into my own children's, town. So not in Darien, that doesn't help my children here. I'm looking forward to having an impact in my own town.
Thank you, Megan. Laura?
Currently, I'm strategy and operations for a pharmaceutical company. And I lead their patient affordability program and patient services. So I'm in the business of helping people and helping people get their medication. And currently I manage over a $300 million budget. So I know these, profit, and loss statements. I know line by line, I know what each thing means. And so I understand the importance of sticking to budgets and, give and take in certain things and programs that people may, need. I'm also a project lead for so many different programs under this patient affordability program that I run. But again, it's a project type of position, so I can see projects from the start to the finish, and that's what I get paid to do. And creating races and charters, which I won't get into, but project management is in strategy and operation in my professional career.
Thank you. Amanda?
So I've been a nursing professional for the past 13 years, which I make sure not only is it, America's most trusted profession, but also it's the business of advocating for our most vulnerable populations. And so that is really kind of ingrained in my background. On the advanced practice side of things, I've also been assessing and diagnosing problems and coming up with solutions for those problems, which I think is a really valuable transferable skill set. I'm also the founder of my own business. I am familiar with budgets, working together, profit and loss statements. And then I also have a community service background. I'm involved in the Scouts, which is a youth service organization, which I've been involved with for many years, both as a leader of youth and also as a volunteer healthcare officer. So I think that diversity of experience will be well utilized on that.
Thank you. All right. That will bring us to Laura.
What differentiates you from the other candidates today as a potential board member?
Start with Megan.
Well, I think no matter who you choose, I think we're going to have hopefully a board member who is ready, willing, and able. And it sounds like anyone who threw their hat in the ring, that's not during the election season is. So I think what would put me aside from them would be the fact that I'm not a life member of Reading, but I have volunteered I lived here long enough that I really appreciate what this education system can bring. Again, the fact that we moved here from Norwalk, it was the reason that we moved here from Norwalk was the schools. The minute we started looking forward in the years, we knew that we didn't want to stay in a really large city, if you will. I think that that experience of seeing how the students, can excel. One of my younger son, he does receive accommodations, so I am pretty well versed in 504 plans and IEPs. I also think that my knowledge of the board will greatly help me. I sort of feel like I know what to expect. I've run budgets, I've run meetings, I know the commitment that it takes.
Thank you, Laura.
Again, as Megan said, I mean, there's a lot of qualified candidates and, it's a big time commitment, so we wouldn't be here unless we really, had a vested interest and for me, again, being, somebody that leads projects and likes to see things from start to finish, and just really my passion around my kids. I think, I've looked at other, boards or being part of the PTA, or I have no girls, so I can't coach their field hockey team. So this is my way to really get involved and really at a time in my life where I think it's the most important and really having the two kids in the school systems and again, being able to take something from start to finish and giving my time and being able to really commit to this job like everybody else. But again, it's my passion for this talent, it's my passion for the history, the passion for where it's been, the passion for where it is now and where I want to continue to see the future. I've been here since the beginning and people move here because it's a great place and I just want to continue with that legacy.
Thank you. Amanda?
I'm clearly in great company here with the other candidates. I think what sets me apart is my long-term interest in this board specifically. I've been either attending the meetings virtually or watching the recordings, probably about 50% of them since moving here. So I've observed you work. I know who you all are because I've seen you on my screens, and I put in the time to see if this is something that I could contribute to. I kind of have seen your operation and understand what the commitment entails. So I would say that is what's important.
Thank you. John?
Yep, great company, of course, and I never get to this point without having a little bit of knowledge of the process. I think, what I had a reputation for in college was being a very fast, adaptable learner for things. And so bringing the background and knowledge that I have from building my companies and to understanding the ins and outs of the board. I don't know every line item on this P&L, but I can definitely dig in and find out what things are and make sure that we're moving forward. It's all about making sure that we're here for the long run. We got a lot of we had some up and coming children in my house, and the fact that I saw firsthand my son get so much close attention like last year because he missed a year of school from COVID, and as many kids did. But like I got to see that firsthand and how can you extrapolate that out to the rest of the district.
Thank you, John. That concludes the questions that the board has for you this evening. Thank you all for your answers. At this time, we'll invite you all to give a closing remarks for about 2 minutes. Anything that you want us to know that didn't come up in the questions you're opening, or anything else you'd like to tell us. And I think we start with Laura at this point.
Thank you all for this opportunity. And question by you guys. Great opportunity. It's important to me. It's important to my kids, and it's important to the community. That we stay focused on academics for these kids and really help them strive to be the best that they can be socially, prepare them for the future. And I really feel as though it's my time to put forth my commitments. Again, my biggest strength at work and in my professional life is being an open-minded listener and really listening from the bird's eye view. So coming in with preconceived notions, listening to all sides, and really understanding the person and their, potential issue is, my track record and why I succeed. So again, thank you guys for this. It's a real pleasure, and thank you for all that you do, because I know it's not easy and I know it hasn't been easy. So again, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. course, for the opportunity to be a candidate for this position. I just want to reiterate, my vested interest in this board specifically. I commend you all for the work that you've done. I think that, coming off of COVID, hopefully, there's some work to be done. There's some opportunities, I think, to plan for the future, to recover for some things that, some consequences of the kind of disruptive learning environment we see. And I'm really interested in being a productive and constructive part of those solutions. So thank you for that.
Thank you. John?
I think it's always nice to be company with people who have the same goals outlook, which is the best for everybody's children in the community, making sure we're represented really well and upholding the amazing reputation that the Reading School has, which is why so many people have landed here in the past couple of years, and be able to help shape that and give input and then bring my own background here would be very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan?
At the end of the day, I'm just excited to have the opportunity to be involved. I think that we all have a lot of opinions, myself included, that, and over the last few years, I think there's been a lot of shouting from the sidelines, and I would love to make sure that I'm part of the discussion, and a constructive one at that, not just shouting from the sidelines, because I don't think that does anything. So one of the things I am passionate about is just getting involved and being part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Unless any of the board members have any other information they'd like to tease out in this interview, we'll look for an emotion to adjourn the special meeting. Second, absent objection, the special meeting is adjourned at 7:15. We'll take a second to see if we can get the camera set up properly.
We're
Just
gonna
leave that running.
We're gonna move it. Okay. Where's the?
Mostly my face, but yeah.
Uh,
The audio
Are we
was.
pausing YouTube here?